For my citizen science project, which is meant to benefit the community, I started a compost pile in my backyard so I could not only measure its progress, but also get to learn more about composting in general along the way. So what is a compost pile? The process of composting itself is a natural process in which decomposers convert organic material into nutrient-rich humus. By composting at home, you can take action on a small scale to reduce household waste and vitalize your soil. A compost pile then involves layering organic material for these decomposers. There are two categories: brown, which consists of carbon, and green, which provides nitrogen to the pile. Examples of brown materials include sticks, dry leaves, paper, pine needles, cardboard, and stalks. Examples of green materials include leaves, fruit peels, coffee grounds, grass, weeds, and flowers. What exactly are the benefits of composting? Composting results in the production of humus, which is nutrient-rich and beneficial to the soil. The introduction of decomposing microorganisms allows for healthier plants and energizes the food web. The amount of waste is reduced in a household because food scraps and some papers can be thrown into the pile to naturally break down rather than be sent off to a landfill. And because composting is natural and improves the soil, it reduces the need for using chemicals to improve plant growth or soil nutrient. Now that we've covered the basics, let's move on to my hands-on involvement in composting. I needed to create a designated area in my backyard for my compost pile so that my dog couldn't reach it. I purchased 4 wooden posts and a roll of wire fencing from Home Depot and decided on a flat patch of ground towards the back of my backyard. I cleared up the mulch and leaves so that the bare earth was exposed. In order to ensure aeration and drainage, I made sure I had some sticks and pine straw at the base of my pile. I initially started off my pile with dead leaves I collected, leaves and stalks from plants, more pine straw, and some torn up paper and cardboard. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, I separated food scraps in a plastic bag in my kitchen so I could add them to my compost pile. The difference between the pile in this slide compared to the previous slide is quite distinct. As you can see, over the course of 2 weeks I added eggshells, orange peels, and an apple core, and I turned the pile with a shovel. The dead organic matter, especially the brown leaves, seemed darker and more broken down, although slightly. This was a particularly dry day, so after I snapped these pics, I made sure to add some water and turn the pile over. It appears sunny because I took these photos around noon, but even so you can still see the difference in the pile's appearance. I stopped adding food scraps to the pile because I wanted to be able to see independently what happened to the existing matter, rather than having to differentiate between newer and older matter. The pile seemed to almost shrink in size a little because of the fixed amount of material in it, a lot of which has been undergoing decomposition. There is a lot less green matter that can be seen, and the brown matter has turned even darker. Compared to the previous slides, this pile barely even looks like a pile. While it is nowhere near the final product of compost and humus, the matter in the pile has clearly underwent some decomposition already. Most of the green matter, the stalks and the leaves, have turned a dark brown, which is a good sign, and the brown leaves have sank yet even more. In the next slide, we'll be able to take a closer look at the changes. I used my shovel to turn the pile out, and while it is clear that there is still a lot to break down before I will have humus in the pile, there's been a lot of change. Inside, it is damper and darker than the surface, suggesting that there are reactions that are taking place within. The cardboard seems to take the longest to break down. Here we have some particular points that are essential while cultivating a compost pile. Like I mentioned previously, turning the pile once every 2 or 3 weeks is important to the compost pile's balance and aeration. The pile cannot be too dry or too damp, nor too cold or too hot. If all goes well and decomposition continues in the pile, in a few months the matter will become humus, which should be dark and crumbly, and can be mixed with your existing soil to grow and foster healthy plants. We know the individual benefits of compost, that it is all natural, reduces waste, and is good for growing plants. You may ask, how can composting really make a difference in our community? On its own, a single compost pile may not have that great of an impact on a large scale. However, if we can make this a thriving trend, our community as a whole could reduce the waste that goes to our landfills and have healthier ecosystems because of soil nutrients, microorganisms, healthier plants, and less chemical involvement. We can put carbon and nitrogen back into the soil, and ultimately we would be yet another step closer towards becoming a zero-net waste society. These are my sources, and thank you for listening.